Everyone. I'm super excited to be here and speak to you all a little bit about AI and some of the tools to leverage it. Thank you, Diego and Avanza, Arkansas, for the opportunity to be here. I'm super excited. So first, let's talk a little bit about me. My name is Jorge Zavala, and I'm a marketing manager at Inuvo, which is an ad tech company based here in Little Rock. So we basically created an AI that helps brands understand their customers better and target them better through advertising by understanding information from the internet, whether what people are reading, what they're feeling, and what they're interested in. We're able to pull all that context out and provide better, more precise targeting for these companies. This is what differentiates us. Is a lot of other companies use third-party cookies or what is called personal identifiers to track you, but we bypass all of that. In my job, I use AI every single day, whether I'm just writing an email, creating graphics, troubleshooting something that's technical, related to a platform that we use. It does come in handy. It makes me a lot more efficient. And honestly, I don't know what I would do without it. So all of you are so much younger than I am, so you are going to be accessing AI a lot sooner. By the time you get to my age, you guys are going to be so much more proficient. And so I hope that this excites you, not only for the project that you'll be using it on, but also for personal projects and adoption. So let's get right into it. Let's start with AI basics and tools for making an impact. There is not a single way to describe AI that, one, makes it easy to understand, and two, really combines everything that it is. So let's just define AI first. So AI is artificial intelligence, and it's the application of computer systems that are able to perform tasks or produce output. That's the key word, is output, that normally requires human intelligence by applying machine learning techniques to large collections of data. Now, that is the big term umbrella definition of AI, but there are so many different subsets and variations of AI, like machine learning, generative AI, natural language processing, and large language models, and other terms beyond this. In a way, a lot of them overlap with each other, or a lot of them are subsets of each other. But an example of machine learning is your Spotify account, the types of music that you listen to. It doesn't necessarily need you to tell it what you like. It's going to know based on genre, based on artist, based on language, and it's going to recommend you those new albums when they come out. Generative AI is anything that generates something. So that would be ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini. And then natural language processing is a type of AI that normally uses voice or text and interacts with you. So that could be like a chatbot or Siri or Alexa. And then a large language model is essentially a subset of AI, but it is kind of the foundation of generative AI. There's no creative output with a large language model. And then vibe coding, that's just something that I wanted to throw in here that I will cover a little bit later. So basically, to simplify it, prior to the launch of generative AI, you used to have to learn how to code to do anything. But now you can do it all prompt-based. So basically just typing in instructions of the things you want to see, what you want something to look like, the features you want it to have, the color, the dimension, is it vertical, is it horizontal? All of that comes in handy, and all of that is what you use to instruct generative AI. And that is vibe coding when you use prompts. So again, that is not a very comprehensive definition and overview of AI, but it's just a little bit of what it truly is. So that is me talking about AI from the advertising perspective, but really it already bleeds into so many different industries, whether it's the medical field, they already have robotics, doing the work. They also have AI that is able to take patient information, and maybe it's able to detect or predict illnesses that are coming down. You have robots in the automotive and manufacturing industry. There's just a lot of different ways that AI is already taking over. And if you're interested in those definitions I presented earlier, this graph on the right kind of shows you the layers and which are subsets. So AI is the big jawbreaker, the whole thing, and then inside you have a large language model. And again, it goes beyond this. But let's simplify it and visualize it. So AI, like I mentioned earlier, means you have an input. You put something into the model, which is the AI, it does something, and then you have an output. So in a way, human intelligence does parallel artificial intelligence because we train it. So just how we take in information every single day, process it, and then do something about it, the AI is trained to do that as well. So very simplified version, but let's say you wake up in the middle of the morning, you want to have breakfast, you look in your pantry and your fridge to see what you're going to have. You have the ingredients to make a smoothie. Let's say you have strawberries and you decide to, add spinach. Then you make the smoothie. All of that is going through the process of the input, which is the ingredients, which is you acknowledging everything that's, in the pantry. The processing is you remember that you have spinach, you add it, the output is, smoothie itself. And then you might know that you don't like spinach. So if you're an AI system, you keep learning from real life situations, and AI systems also learn from the information and the interactions that they have with humans. So something to keep in mind when working with AI, and as you hear about AI in the future, is AI right now is predictive. It predicts the next best word, the sentence. It's based on patterns and the language that we put into it. It definitely needs to be viewed as an assistant. It's not necessarily yet a part of you. We can get to that point, but we're not there yet. It's a great time saver. Use it to make you more efficient. And in a way, it is a reflection of us, the humans that interact with it. And so, we want to make sure that we're feeding it good information, that we're giving it positive reinforcement, not because it's going to come back and get us, but if you interact with it in a way, say ChatGPT, and it's giving you good results, you want to say, I like this style, I like this prompt, keep it up. It learns from that behavior. If you just are negative with it and say, I don't like this, you're not being very specific. So you got to be specific with the feedback in your interactions with AI. One thing that AI is not is it's not always right. You saw hopefully a definition earlier in the deck about AI hallucination. AI hallucination is a real thing, and AI is trained and built to predict the next thing. So it's not always going to check itself for accuracy. I can't tell you how many times I've uploaded a report or uploaded, a screenshot of a table with numbers in it. And to save time, I'm like, okay, give me a summary of this information, give me the insights. And it does a great job at producing the text output. But when I go and start looking at the numbers are completely wrong, or it's pulled in some random stat. So that is also one thing that's super important. We are early in the AI ages. It's not always right. So always double check your work. AI is not human. It doesn't feel emotion, values, or context the way people do, although it may seem like that. I actually have used it to help me interpret song lyrics, but it's using that information based on the millions of probably articles about that specific song, or it's taking in the context from songs that are similar to, tell me its opinion. But there's also a thing called confirmation bias. If I'm feeding it this, it knows that it wants to agree with me. So it's going to go along with what I have to say. So always keep that in mind. AI is not really a friend. It's not really a parent. It's not a therapist. Yes, it can assist in some situations for information, but it's not a human and it's not a replacement for human. Think of it as an assistant. It's not conscious. It doesn't have awareness. And most importantly, do not use it in replacement of thinking. Use your brain always use your original thoughts, and then use AI to help you build on that. So I recently went to an AI speaker conference, and he talked about the evolution of AI, which I actually hadn't heard of this yet, but I thought this would be really cool to share. So the logic area, or AI 1.0, is when humans wrote code to tell AI or systems what to do at that point. So what you can think of is, our early video games or a calculator. It's programmed to have one end situation, and that's what it's going to do. When you beat the game, and then you start over. There's really no alternatives. Right now, we are in AI. We're actually halfway through AI 2.0, which is the learning era. So these AI systems are learning from our inputs. We're feeding it things like text, photos, conversations. We don't have to code anymore, right? It's all communication and language based. So think of AI 2.0 as the chat GPT outputs with all the interactions that they have from people. What's coming next is AI 3.0, and we're kind of already starting to do some of that, even though we're still in 2.0, which is the wearables era. So the wearables era is when AI moves into the agentic era, which means it becomes like an agent and does things for you on its own. So what this is going to consist of, it's going to be like little clip-on microphones. It's going to be sunglasses, probably earbuds, and they're going to be able to kind of observe the world around you. They're going to be able to see, hear, and then it's going to be able to translate and, basically help you do things and optimize your day. So it might be able to speak to other systems. You might have glasses that are seeing. They might be able to translate something on a billboard in a different language, but you also might be able to get a notification about an email. And then the last one, it sounds very sci-fi. We don't know for sure what's going to happen, but this is what the experts predict is the superintelligence era. So that is when humans and AI are integrated, and more than likely it's going to be through neural activity or through the brain. So at some point in the future, instead of, we're moving from telling AI what to do, where it's going to have reasoning and it's going to see what's going on around us, to it's actually going to be able to process our thoughts or our directions through brain activity. So depending on how you view that, that could be either really cool or really scary. So why is AI important? So it's super important because one, there's already so many ways, as I talked about, that AI is bleeding into every single industry. Education is using it, advertising is using it, the medical field is using it. So the earlier that you adopt it and, just kind of learn the basics about it, learn what schools are using it, how they're using it, it's going to prepare you for your college career and your career thereafter, your professional career. If you use it ethically and responsibly, it can really help you with critical thinking. It can help you do deeper research, understand topics that maybe you don't grasp fully. And you can even use it for personal development. So I use it a lot to help me structure meetings. I used it to help me craft an outline for this presentation. I even used it for, building this presentation that I'm giving you right now. But I use it outside of work too. If I have a grass situation or a plant where I can't figure out why it's yellowing or why it keeps dying, I can take a photo of that, upload it on there, ask it what kind of plant it is, what can I do to remedy this? And it'll help me. But my point is every career will use AI. Every industry will use AI. And so it's a perfect time to really leverage information and, put it in your back pocket and start learning about it for your future. So this is actually an AI tool matrix for some of the tools that I use almost daily or at least weekly at work. This is by no means a complete list of all of them, but I have one that I recommended just for you guys. So I'll just move past this, but just wanted to give you a quick visual. So we talked about AI and how a lot of big tech companies are using it, but it's not just for big tech companies. There's a lot of nonprofits using it, and it's a powerful tool for making real change in your community. So some examples to do that is you can use it to solve problems. Maybe you're brainstorming solutions for a nonprofit. Maybe you have your campaign goals, such as a recycling drive. What are some ways to creatively advertise that? Maybe you're translating those outreach materials into a different language to make it more inclusive so you get more for your drive. An obvious one that most people use it for is design and outreach. So creating logos and flyers, helping having it help you write social media content or build a content calendar is one way that is really useful to use it. You can use it for data and research. Maybe you have access to some reports that you can upload and you can say, hey, here's this data from 2020 to 2023. Help me summarize the findings, and can you identify any trends? This can help you understand what happened in the future and even help you predict what may be coming in the future. Of course, you can always use it for organization and collaboration. A lot of these tools are AI adjacent. They're not necessarily AI, but they have like an AI capability. But you can use this to help you plan, track, and execute projects and stay on time. And this is really cool because everyone can take ownership of their project when you use things like this. So let's talk about some youth that actually incorporated AI or made AI with something and how they did it and what they did. So the case study number one is called Chalk It, and it's an AI-powered app that this team created. So essentially what they did is they identified a problem, which is that neurodivergent students in middle and high school, have a fear of judgment. And so they are less likely to participate in class. They are not going to bring up concerns or ask questions to their teachers, maybe because they're shy or, they're a little bit scared. So these students recognized that. They surveyed 78 students, 16 adults. They got their information, and they built an app that's powered by AI where students can submit their concerns anonymously. They can submit their questions. They can give feedback to teachers. The teachers are then able to see this information and actually create an action plan, or at least have knowledge of that information so that they can interact with these students a little bit better. So this is really cool because they identified that gap in the education system for a vulnerable community, right? Neurodivergent students often have a harder time learning. But they also identified a gap in the education technology market, which I think is somewhere in like 200 something billion dollars. And so basically they can create a product if they work with the right team that is actually able to sell something. So moving on to case study number two is Riverstream, which is AI for flood preparedness. So what this group of students wanted to do is they wanted to create an app that basically alerts people globally all around the world when they are at risk for a flood. So what they did is they took and found as much information about rain patterns, flood history per area. They uploaded it to some type of AI technology, and they were able to build an app that is able to show flood risk by location. It also is able to simulate how high the rain is going to go. I think it also provides like weather for the next 3 days. And so these students are solving a real problem. A lot of us have cable in our local communities, or at least TV and Wi-Fi, but a lot of underserved communities globally, they might not have a TV, but they probably do have some sort of phone. This app would come in handy, and if they are in a place that's risk for floods, they would be able to use this. Let's talk about ethics and responsible AI technology use. So basically, AI bias is one of the things that can happen, and that what AI bias means is it means it favors for or against something. So if you have AI bias in your technology, that means some people are going to be left out or not be included. So one of the ways that sampling bias happens is when the data used to train AI is not representative of the real world population. So let's say, for example, the city of Little Rock is conducting a survey for plans for a specific area. Maybe it's the downtown area. If they got a ton of surveys from one specific zip code, but not from another one, because they might not have access to Wi-Fi or to phones or whatever the case, and they put this information into their AI system and said, make recommendations, blah, blah, blah. The AI would say, oh, well, based on these findings, you should do this. But in reality, they didn't survey the entire community. They didn't survey enough of the community to get a true understanding of what their community wants. So that would be an example of sample bias. Algorithmic bias means when something is designed to favor a certain outcome. So an example I can think of this is I'll go out on a limb and say, the Facebook algorithm definitely favors controversial content. You'll notice that when you log on, well, I don't even know if you guys use Facebook, but you'll go on and see that one of the first things that you see is divisive news or something that's going to cause people to engage or laugh, react, or angry react. That's an algorithmic bias right there because it knows that it keeps your attention. It knows that people are going to engage. And guess what? The more people that do it, the more important it becomes to the algorithm. So some questions to ask whenever you're building tools or leveraging tools is, who built this tool? What data did it learn from? Is somebody missing from the data? In some organizations, 65% of them believe that they suffer from data bias, and 77% believe that they need to do more about it. This is probably one of my favorite things that I wanted to talk to you guys about because I thought it was so fascinating from somebody who uses ChatGPT probably almost every day. So the MIT, which is the Massachusetts Institute of Technology Media Lab, did a study on individuals' brain on ChatGPT. And I think they sampled like 54 people and they put them into 3 categories. So it was people who just used their brain to perform a task, people that had search engine, which is, Googling stuff, Bing, whoever uses that, and then people who had ChatGPT. And their task was writing essays for the SAT. And so what they did is they hooked up these wires to their heads, which can pick up brain activity. And long story short, the results are the ChatGPT users had reduced brain connectivity, so they had less signals firing. That makes them less creative. So it declined. It contributed to a decline in brain engagement. They had less critical thinking. They had a harder time memorizing what they even wrote about or what their themes were. And of course, they had a feeling of not that they were owners of the content that they wrote. So that is incredibly powerful information to keep in mind, even for me who uses it for my work, but you guys that are so much younger, that's why I say that whenever you're employing AI to do something for you, go old school and start with just a piece of paper and writing down your ideas and your outline of what you want to say, and then use AI to enhance what you already have. A lot of us can get into a bad habit of going straight to ChatGPT. One, that's an environmental impact if you're using it because AI does use a lot of water. And 2, you're doing your brain a disservice because you're not necessarily letting yourself get into that learning and creativity flow. And so it's especially important for you guys at your formative years because you need to use it as a tool and not as a replacement for your thinking. So let's talk about some free or low-cost tools that you can use for your project. I showed you all earlier the matrix of the tools that I used for a lot of different things, but here's the ones I recommend, and the ones that have the green check mark are ones that I've personally used that I really like. So for project management, these are pretty straightforward, and most of the time, most of these tools are free and they have a free trial for the paid version. So I recommend just starting on the free version. If you love the tool, whether you're working solo or with a team, if it seems promising, then, definitely sign up for the subscription. But test them all first, see what they do. Trello, Asana, Notion, they're all essentially the same thing. You have column views, however you set it up, and you can assign each column per person. So this person's responsible for this list, this is this person for this. Or you can do it in phases, phase 1, here are our tasks, phase 2, etc. You could also do it for people that are responsible for things when they move. So, when this task gets done, you shift it to this column, and then this person has to shift it to this column, and that keeps the team, that keeps the project organized. Ones that I use almost every day are image generation tools. I do a lot of marketing. I have to most of the time supply a graphic or create graphics. My favorite right now is actually Gemini. It's a part of Google's product. It's completely free to use. You can pay for it. ChatGPT, the 4.0 model, is also really good at creating images. And then Canva has some features. For research, of course, use ChatGPT. Perplexity is a great one. Claude is a great one. And then Grok is a pretty good one. Actually, I don't use Grok to do like research, but I use it to extract information from Twitter. So an example I'll use is I've used it to kind of gauge what professionals in my industry are talking about based on their Twitter activity, on their X activity. What themes are they talking about? What keywords are they talking about? And how can I use that as information to then write about things that are relevant to these people that are super intelligent? I personally have never used Consensus, but I did see that this was one specifically for peer-reviewed papers. So I think that one's incredibly powerful if you are going to do research on community, on things that are for good. You want to make sure that you're using real information versus articles, which, articles can be written by ChatGPT. Research papers, definitely you're not going to be written by ChatGPT. Presentations, sometimes those take a long time to design, and a lot of people don't have time for that anymore. So actually this presentation that I built using Gamma. And so what I did is in my notes app, wrote down the outline of what I wanted to talk about based on the key points I was given. I went to ChatGPT. I said, here's my outline, help me perfect this or polish it up. Once I was happy and made my edits from that, then I uploaded that into Gamma. And I was able to say, here's my outline, design a presentation. I was able to pick the theme. And then seriously, like in real time, you see the presentation being built. Again, it's not 100% perfect. So I still had to go in and make some changes. I had changes as I was speaking through it. But it is incredibly good at saving time. And then one of my favorite ones that I highly, highly, highly recommend that you all check out is Lovable. And that is an app and prototype builder. So remember the term vibe coding that I was talking about earlier. Vibe coding means I don't need code to build something. I can just prompt it and tell it exactly what to do. I can tell it what colors, I can tell it what font, I can give descriptions of the imagery that I want to use. I can tell it what kind of vibe I want it to look like. And it can build a prototype of a website for a nonprofit, for a product that you're designing, whatever it is. And then it builds it. That takes a second for it to build. Once it's done, you can go back to the AI feature and give it updates and say, here is my feedback. 1, change this. 2, change this. And so you just work back and forth, back and forth. It's almost like you're just having a conversation with it and it's designing in real time. For outreach, I would say LinkedIn is a great one. LinkedIn is where a lot of professionals already are. So if you are wanting to connect somebody in a specific industry, LinkedIn has a great filter option. So you can filter by location. You should be able to filter by the industry and even by the title. And a lot of that is just personalized, reaching out to them. I put Instantly on here because it was one that came up in my research. I've personally never used it. I know it costs money, but it might have a free trial that you all can check out. And then the last one, which I think is also incredibly valuable now. So at least in social media on the professional side, a lot of video recorded content is being prioritized. And so let's say that you want to screen record your presentation. You can use Visla to do this. It can screen record your camera and your browser. You can also have a teleprompter in one of the features. So it's very handy. Definitely check that one out. So how do you choose and integrate the right tool? First, you have to define your goal. What is it that you want to do? What is the problem that you are solving for? You have to be as specific as possible, because one thing that you will encounter when trying to find AI tools is you will find out that there are 20 million tools for the same exact thing. And so sometimes it can get really overwhelming trying to figure out what to do. So define what you want to do, figure that out, and then figure out what success looks like. What is the metric that you're going to measure? Am I designing a form for people to fill out? Am I designing a website where people submit their information and I'm collecting leads? Okay, so moving on to the fit. Understand the role that the tool will play and for how long. So a lot of these tools have free versions. So you need to figure out, am I going to be able to do my project with the free version? Do I have a budget to work with? Is that budget per month or is it, total? If there is a free trial version, maybe you outline your entire project and you say, it's not until I get to this point that I sign up for the trial. I use it for a week, 2 weeks, whatever it is, and then you finish your project with whatever trial period you have. Ethics is another one. Make sure that you assess the reputation and credibility of the tool. Like I mentioned, there are thousands, if not millions, of AI tools out there already. You want to make sure that you try to find some reviews of the credibility of this app, especially if you're going to be working with a nonprofit or another organization or your own personal information. You want to make sure that you do a safety check. You don't want to just, throw your information out to whoever, whenever. And then originality. Make sure that you always brainstorm first, expand and build with AI. Make sure you use your creativity. Also, whenever you're doing your project, always do some research. Has someone already done this? Has someone already solved for this? If they have, can I build on it and make it better? As you use AI, can you proudly take ownership of this product, or was it 100% AI slop? Is something that we use a lot. Not the AI slop, the term itself is AI slop. Ask yourself, how can AI help me solve more clearly for this? So that is it. I hope that you got some valuable information on tools and that you learned a little bit about AI and how to use it. I have my email and my LinkedIn here. Please feel free to reach out to me and add me on LinkedIn. I would love to connect with you all. And I hope you all have a great project ahead of you. I hope that it goes well. Thank you for having me and good luck.